Next on the Paper Stack podcast, we're going to look at the systems I use for loss mitigation, how to make the process quick, efficient, and easy.
Welcome to another episode of the Paper Stack podcast. I am Brett, and this is Rick Allen. Today we are going to be covering something that's been brought up a couple of times. It's in comments, and that is systems for loss mitigation. So here on Paper Stack, we provide a platform for you to buy and sell mortgage notes. Once it's off the platform, it's a whole different ball of wax.
Yes.
And that is something that we try to provide value and try to provide the best assistance we can, especially for somebody that's new. But specific loss mitigation practices aren't our forte. But Rick has done it enough times to have some insight into what are the best things for it, and we hope this answers some of the questions you might have had.
Yes, Brett, thank you for the good intro. It almost felt like a snackable intro. Normally we bullshit a little bit, talk, and we're jumping right into it. Meat and potatoes today with Brett.
Oh.
Meat and potatoes. He's dressed up. You're getting
it's what happened. I put on a collared shirt and I got all professional.
Professional, yes. I had a hat and I just took the hat off just in the effort to look like I know what I'm talking about. Anyways, yeah, so loss mitigation, whether it's pretty much for any part of the note business, you should have some systems. Anything that you do that's a repeated step probably needs a system. Loss mitigation is no different. One of the things, you're going to have many different aspects of loss mitigation. Today we're going to focus on two. One is doing a borrower workout where they agree to sign a deed in lieu. And the other one is a borrower workout where they agree to sign a loan modification. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into like steps, right? So there's like 3 or 4 different key steps, and we'll talk about each one as we go. So the first thing you want to do, whether you're doing the deed in lieu or you're doing the loan mod, is you want to find out, like, look, who are the key players that I need for my system? Like, what's the most important thing to have? Who are the people that, no matter what, they're going to be there? And so, like, for instance, on the deed in lieu side, I highly recommend you use the attorney or an attorney or whoever would be doing a foreclosure. Because they're going to want to run title reports and make sure that you can actually have a deed in lieu signed, right?
So every time you do a deed in lieu, you have to have an attorney?
I would.
Yeah?
Yeah, because ultimately what's happening is if you get somebody who's interested in signing a deed in lieu, they've probably received some sort of legal paperwork that's motivated them to do that. It's, not saying it doesn't happen, but most of the time people don't just say, yeah, I'll sign a deed in lieu without being prodded a little bit.
So for those that don't know what a deed in lieu is, because we might still have some people that are rather new.
Deed in lieu of foreclosure, right? So in this instance, the borrower has not been making payments. Maybe they're 90 days behind, maybe they're 3 years behind. Anyways, you get in contact with them and you make it to a point where you just, through going back and forth, you ask them, hey, do you want to sign the house over instead of go through the foreclosure process? The first one we ever purchased, the first note, the borrower had 5 foreclosures going on at that time. They had bought a bunch of properties. They said, yes, I don't need another foreclosure. Please take the property. I'll sign it over to you. Other times we've reached out and the borrowers have already moved out of the house. They're like, look, I'm done with it. You take it.
How often do they say no?
Most of the time.
Really?
Most of the time they say no.
But they want to stay in the house.
Right.
So they either...
think about it. Nobody wants to lose their home.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to... it's shelter. So unless they've moved on and they're in a different place, they just don't want it. But then there's sometimes when there's enough... we talk about emotional equity, maybe emotional debt. Maybe they lost a parent in the house. Maybe they're like, look, bad marriage in the house. I just don't want... I'm done with this house. I need a new start. We love to allow them to rip that chapter out of their life, start over, deed in lieu. We agree not to sue you, anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So you want to know, you want to talk to your attorney, because in the event that they sign the property over to you and you're not able to extinguish the debt, you're going to have to foreclose. Right?
Right.
And so the attorney in that case, if you talk to them about it up front, and most attorneys will tell you, well, you can, if you have clear title, there's a chance that that's not an issue. But sometimes you run into it where, like, look, they want to sign the house over, but there's a second position mortgage. So you're going to have to deal with the second position mortgage. So, sometimes the second position mortgage is not going to talk to you.
Like that one example you had where they just took a loss for it.
Yeah, they're like, we're not going to, well, they would rather take a loss. They wouldn't negotiate with us. So, but the point is the attorney will know in reviewing title and guide you on the best path. So you want to identify your key player, that being an attorney.
So you would have them do all that before you'd ever even present the deed in lieu option?
All about saving money, and I don't want to have them analyze something that's never going to come to fruition. I want to get the borrower, I may run a title report, but I want the borrower to tell me, yes, I'll sign that over.
Then you get a lawyer involved.
Then my lawyer steps in and says, okay, now I need you to draft the documents. Okay?
Okay.
Servicers, they're other key players in this. Very key players. You want to keep your servicer in the loop, in the know-how. Like, so they know everything that's going on, because they're also on top, the borrower may be contacting them. They might be getting past due tax notices. They might be getting, I don't know, county liens sent to them. You want to keep them in the instance. They're gonna be the ones who you go to and say, look, what's the payoff? And they're gonna say, this is how much they owe. And if you do a consent judgment along with your deed in lieu, you're gonna want those numbers in there. If you're gonna do a loan modification, you're gonna want them so they can do they can give you the numbers. This is how much they're behind. Here's what we can do. So you want to have your servicers as the second sort of key person, or identify a key player. Next, you kind of want to understand, like, look, most of this stuff's going to have to be signed. Do you have some boots on the ground? You want to identify, like, who's going to be able to handle this. Who's going to be able to go hold their hand if that needs to be done? Who's going to be able to deliver the package? If you're doing a check, who's going to hand them the check during a deed in lieu? Who's going to get the documents signed? Because I tell you what'll happen 9 times out of 10, if you give them, documents to sign, they're going to miss something, or you just want to have another person readily available. You want to have boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So identify your key players. That's a huge part. The next thing, you want to identify, what documents do I need?
Yeah.
You want to know, like, look, what are the documents I'm going to need for this particular transaction? If it's a deed in lieu, you want to be able to have an accurate deed drafted up, a deed in lieu of foreclosure. You're also probably going to want to have a consent judgment. Whenever I do a deed in lieu, I always smash a consent judgment in there with it.
Explain a consent judgment.
So, a consent judgment, the borrower is basically saying, I'm consenting to judgment if we have to go through foreclosure. I'm not going to fight the foreclosure. I admit I owe you this. It's saying basically that, look, I'm in default. You're right, I'm wrong. Okay? What that does is, in the event that you can't record your deed for whatever reason, maybe there was, the signatures don't match, maybe they had assigned the deed somewhere else and you missed it, or maybe the second position mortgage doesn't want to negotiate with you, well, you're going to have to foreclose. And having the consent to judgment speeds it up. It allows you to go to the court and say, look, they've already consented to judgment. So it reduces in the time, really, and it'll reduce in the cost.
Yeah.
If there is a second position mortgage, another document you probably are going to want to have is permission to negotiate on behalf of that borrower.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because you're going to reach out to the second position mortgage once you have the deed in lieu and consent judgment. You say, hey, look, I've got these documents. I would love to settle this with you. She owes you $50,000. How would you take 5? That's about what it's going to cost me to foreclose. So you're either going to get nothing or you'll get $5,000. It's up to you. But if you call them, they're going to say, well, who are you? Say, well, we own the first position. Well, I'm not authorized to speak with you unless you have the permission to negotiate on their behalf or discuss on their behalf. You can hand that piece of document. You have to fax it to them. And at that point, they can start discussing the loan with you.
Still faxing?
What's that?
They're still faxing? They do that on purpose, don't they?
Of course.
Because it's such a pain in the butt.
Of course. The next thing, if you're doing the loan modification, you got to know which documents you're going to need. You're going to need, you have to have a loan packet, or you have to have an application, right? Mm-hmm. Because somebody may say, well, yeah, I want to modify my loan. And then you get their loan packet back or their application, and you can look through it and you can say, well, I can't really, it'll kind of give you the guidelines. It'll tell you, you can look at it and analyze their debt to income ratio, or you give it to your servicer. Mm-hmm. And you say, well, what payment can they afford? And they run all that stuff to keep you in compliance. But, you don't want to write up a loan modification for somebody, and not have all the application, because if for some reason they shouldn't have been able to modify their loan, you could potentially get in trouble. They could come back. If you go to court to try to foreclose, they're going to say, well, why did you modify their loan to a 50% debt to income ratio, right? So if you're doing a loan mod, you want to make sure you have a fully executed, compliant loan mod app. And your servicer should be able to help you with that. You want to make sure you have all that documentation there, because it just protects you if you have to go forward and foreclose. You can say, look, all the information is right there. We had it. And then if they come back and you say, well, then they lied on their loan application. It protects you, okay? If you're modifying a loan, one thing also, when we talk about documents that you might need, this is like that one chance that you may have to fix anything that's wrong in the collateral, right?
Really?
Yeah, this is a point where they're willing to sign a new agreement with you, and so you can have them sign an estoppel that's verifying that you're the rightful owner of the loan and everything, or if there's anything in there, maybe there's a missing note. You can have them re-execute a note. You just use this time when you have them, where you have the borrower's attention. You're giving them something. You're allowing them to keep the house. You're modifying their loan. This is that one chance to fix anything that's wrong.
That's nice.
Yeah. You should use it. You should take it. If you have the chance to fix something that's wrong, now's your time to do it.
What are the things that might be wrong there?
Well, you can shore up the chain by them signing an estoppel saying, look, this is how much you owe. They're verifying the amount you owe. They're verifying that you're the owner. Maybe there's a chance where there's maybe there's a question on, there was a prior loan mod and they're agreeing like, look, this is the new interest rate. You agree that everything up to now is accurate. It's just that one chance you have, there's a number of things that could be wrong, but you can fix a lot of them at this point.
So if there was say like you had this note, it's non-performing, you get it, there's a break in the chain, which is a big, could be a big potential issue. Mm-hmm. And now you have them on the hook, but you might have the chain from maybe you as the last person to you sign, but they don't have it from Joe Smith to them. When you sign the estoppel, does that fix?
I mean, you can't go move mountains.
I mean, but
you can't move them you can't Houdini and do something like that. But you can fix little things.
Well, I'm saying, if you sign the estoppel, does that say the chain is now fixed from the previous to previous?
Yeah, yes and no. Look, it's as we talked with Aaron Quinn, it's always good. It always helps in court. If you say that. But I mean, if there's an obvious giant gap in the assignments, I would just, on top of doing this, I would spend the time to go get that gap assignment fixed and call up Casey Wilson and say, hey, I need some help. Can you work with me to get this fixed? And put them on it and let them do their magic, or Brown and Associates or Richmond Monroe or whoever you want to use. Mm-hmm. But pick somebody and go with them. So, use this time to fix what you can, and your attorney will say, yeah, you could probably fix this here, or have them update stuff.
Nice.
But you're not going to be able to move mountains. You can't make stuff just appear.
Well, yeah, no, I just was curious.
So, yes, do that. So we've got identify your key players, know who's on the team, and know their role. Mm-hmm. Identify, look, here are the documents that I'm going to need. Now, once we get the documents, we need to go ahead and coordinate the handoff.
Yeah.
And this is super important. You'd be surprised how many borrowers do not have printers.
Printers. I don't have a printer.
There you go. Brett doesn't have a printer. Don't
my
plan on
nemesis.
emailing documents to somebody and saying, here, print these off, sign them, send them back. Don't do that. What'll happen is they'll print legal onto letter paper. They'll print front and back. That happens, and so it's like, what? You printed it front and back. It happens all the time. The easiest way to do it is a FedEx label or UPS or whoever your chosen shipping provider is. Print out all the documents. Get them till they look just the way you want them. Put them in a FedEx envelope. Put a new FedEx envelope inside that envelope with a return label already on it.
Smart.
Ship it to them. Track it. You can track it. You can see when they get it. Require a signature. That way, they've got the packet in their hands. When it comes time to sign and execute, they can simply put the paperwork right back in the old one, seal it up, drop it in a FedEx box. Because if you try to leave it up to them, it's just, you're going to be chasing your tail around. Sometimes I think they do it on, some borrowers do it on purpose.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, just to make things difficult.
That's pretty smart, though.
Um,
You had some pretty slick shipping and FedEx hacks.
And then boots on the ground. Like, look, we talked about boots on the ground. Coordinate with them. If you have somebody that can meet there, go over the paperwork with them. Preferably somebody that they've met in the past or that they're comfortable talking to. I don't suggest using the attorney. I've had bad problems. Not bad problems. Sometimes attorneys, first of all, if they're an attorney, you know, the borrower knows they're an attorney. And it automatically puts people a little on edge. And then, you know, I've had attorneys in the past that were, they're not loss mitigation specialists. They're used on, you know, trying the law, of being lawyers. So they don't talk to the people real well. Real estate agents make great boots on the ground. Great boots on the ground. Because if something needs to be notarized, guess what? They probably know a mobile notary. But they're very personable. They're used to talking to people, and they're most of the time somewhat familiar with what's going on. They get it. If you're doing a deed in lieu, it's a lot easier to get an agent involved because they're like, well, I'm going to get this listing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're going to help out with that. And, you know, we did one in South Carolina where we had the agent. Sometimes you'll have to, like, talk to the agent. You know, I called up an agent before, said, look, I need you to help facilitate a deed in lieu. Here's what's going on. And she was like, I don't believe you. They didn't believe, like, the story. And so after they did their own back channeling and checking, they're like, okay, you guys are actually legitimate. You know what you're doing here. But
Why didn't she believe you?
Because I called her up and I said, look, I need you to go meet this lady and have her, she's signing her house over to me. We own the first position mortgage. And she was like, what bank are you with? I'm like, we're not a bank. We're Cloud Capital Management representing yada, yada, yada. And so it was just not a call they normally get. The banks normally don't just reach out to you. So, but agents, they do make a really good boots on the ground. So yeah, you definitely want to be able to coordinate it. And then finally, the last thing is time, quickly, speed. Speed is so important when it comes to loss mitigation. Time will kill all deals. It's just a proven fact. If you cannot have your boots on the ground, your attorneys, your servicers, everybody moving, that's why the system is so important. The system is what makes everything flow. You know, standardizing your forms, getting them to where, you know, you're communicating with people prior to the step actually needing to be done. Hey, talk to your attorney. I'm working on a deed in lieu here. I'm probably going to need a consent judgment also. I think she's about to agree to this. You know, let's get title going. Get your title going, because sometimes title takes 7 days to come in, right? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, how long does this total process take?
It depends. How good's your system? How good are your teammates, your players, your key players?
Why? So, is you're saying doing all these things FedEx to make it faster? Couldn't you just have everything DocuSigned or some kind of system, or is that not good?
You can.
Yeah.
You can. But it also comes down to what if it needs to be notarized. I mean, you could use notarize, but a lot of times, again, if somebody has a problem with not having a printer or not having a computer, sometimes we're dealing with just borrowers who they're just not sophisticated. They just don't have it. They just don't get it. It's so easy to take it for granted how good some people are with technology. Like, we work in tech with technology every day. I do everything on my phone, sign documents. I can notarize something on a video chat. We're in Zoom calls, the whole deal. Like, there's so much technology at your fingertips that sometimes you take it for granted and you think that everybody has your technical chops, and that's just not the case.
That's true. I mean, like, my brother is an electrician, and he's very good at what he does as an electrician, but get him in front of a computer and he just thinks everything's Google. He's just, where's the Google machine? He calls it the Google machine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because he's like, he calls me a QB. Oh, you're a QB. I'm like, what's a QB? He's like, you sit inside in a cubicle. I'm like, well, I don't, but that's funny. QBs.
Yeah. So, yes, it would be faster if everybody could do DocuSign or notarize or something like that. But the case is, it doesn't do that, and it's not, and people are not necessarily comfortable
with the DocuSign.
Right, especially if you're doing a deed in lieu and you're going to say, look, I'm going to hand you a check, or you'll get a check when you sign the documents. They're like, well, I'd like to see the check before I sign the document.
That's true too, huh?
So, boots on the ground, but speed. So make sure your players all know what's going on. Make sure that you've got standardized documentation. This is how things are going to look. If you can get a blank copy of the documents or a draft copy.
Of what documents?
Any of the documents in here, because sometimes the borrowers are going to want to look at those.
Oh, wow, okay.
Say, look, I'll send you over drafts ASAP. I'll email them to you. Hopefully they have email. It does make it good if they have email and they can read it on a phone. Most people have smartphones, but they maybe don't know the extent that they can use them. Most people can read an email. That way you can get it to them and say, look, I'm dropping this in FedEx. You'll have it tomorrow or in 2 days. Look through the draft documents. Let me know when's a good time. I'll coordinate. I'll get somebody over to your house. Speed. You want to keep everything moving. Because what can happen is somebody can be ready to sign. If you're like, okay, they want to sign, let's order title. Title takes 7 days. Title comes back. Attorney's like, okay, it's clear. Okay, I need you to draft up this. All right, well, I've got a case coming up, so it'll take me 3 or 4 days, which turns into 17 days. Now we're 2 weeks out. Now you got a borrower asking me, hey, where's my paperwork? It's like, I don't know, I'm waiting on it. They have to bounce something off and send it to the servicer. You have a lot of people that need help on your team.
Wow.
So if you can set up the efficiencies, you can talk to them up front, and you can say, look, get title ordered here. And that's just kind of knowing that, I'm probably going to have title ordered whenever I get the inkling that the borrower's willing to talk with me.
Interesting. So even before you even talk about a deed in lieu or ask them, do they want to stay in their house?
No, not them. Not them. Like, I'll have title and an ownership and encumbrances report whenever we buy something, and I'll have a vague idea on title. I'll know what's there. But if I start doing we have our loss mitigation outreach, we're running it through our non-for-profit comes back and they said, hey, this borrower's pretty receptive. They got some questions. Okay, boom, perfect. Order title. Because I know, okay, they've got some questions. You're gauging it. You don't want to throw the steaks on the grill if you're just starting the baked potato, because the steaks are going to be done way before the baked potato. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You got to time everything. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you just have to make sure, but speed is what'll improve it. So the goal is kind of, once you have title and everything there, if title can hit really, and then like the next day they're like, yes, I'm ready to go, and you can have your attorneys drafting something, and you can have it. I mean, if you can get everything wrapped up in 10 days or 2 weeks, it's good. Usually I look at it as I operate based off of, if it's a loan modification, I'll start there. If it's a loan modification, I'm kind of looking at where I am in the month, because I'm wanting to set up, like, look, when's their first payment due? Mm-hmm. Right? So if it's the 15th, and I'm like, oof, it's going to be tight to get everything done in 2 weeks, because then it's like, look, here you go, get this signed, done. If you want to have that first payment on the first. If not, if you're like, look, I'm taking $5,000 from these people. I'm going to have them sign everything. So as long as they sign it sometime before, if it's February, if I get them to sign it February 15th through March 12th or whatever, that's fine, because their first payment's probably not going to be till April, maybe May. You can push that out however long you want. But you kind of always want to look at what's the date? If it's the first of the month, if it's like the 3rd, I'm like, oh, let's try to push this thing and get it to where they've signed it and they're making payments on the 1st, right? Because if they sign it and then they got to wait 45 days, they're going to be late on that payment. But if they sign it and like, look, you got to make that payment. Mm-hmm. That's it. Something else kind of is have your, once you do enough of these, you'll know your structures. You'll know your options. You'll know, okay, I know how I can structure this deal. Some people, I've heard them call it transaction engineering or something like that. It's kind of like you'll have your value meals if you go to fast food places. You'll be like, look, this one's going to be a 1, 2, or a 3. If they're going to keep it, I know we can kind of massage numbers over here. Maybe I can drop their interest rate to give them a payment that falls in line, or better yet, maybe I can extend it. That's always good. Keeping interest rates high is beneficial on the resale. If you're doing the deed in lieu, kind of know, okay, I'm going to do the deed in lieu or the consent judgment. I'm going to have different options. By the way, and if you're talking deed in lieu and consent judgment, just the faster the better. The faster you can get them to sign the house over, the better off it is. Because ultimately what happened is they'll go out and they may start talking to a real estate agent like, oh, don't do that. Let's do a short sale. Let me list it for you. Have you thought about doing a refinance? Or, somebody will get in their ear. They'll go to church. Somebody at the church will be like, well, So the faster you can keep things moving, the better off it is for you.
Interesting. I remember when we did a deed in lieu when I first started with you guys years ago in Kissimmee. Remember that?
In Kissimmee.
Yeah, it was way out there. You guys were getting the house back. They had to move out. The moving truck was in the driveway. That was the main thing we were trying to. And he told me to stall him. He was a musician, so it was pretty easy. Remember that guy?
No, I don't.
No, remember that? It was out in Kissimmee. They had the moving truck. He had a bass that was like I think it was like.
Oh, I do remember that one.
Yeah.
Yes, that was St. Cloud.
St. Cloud.
It was St. Cloud. Yes.
Yeah,
I
was really considering buying that bass because I was like, man, I could give this to my brother and.
No, yeah. Well, that was a perfect instance. That deal almost got crushed because of time. But we pushed that one through time and moved it, and it was done. So, yes.
All right, so we're coming near the end here, so I want to just kind of recap stuff because this is very interesting. First off, the documents you're going to probably need is matters, but estoppels, consent judgments.
All those things. They're different documents for different transactions.
Where do you find all these documents? First off.
Most of the stuff your attorneys will have. I mean, we can do blank. We can put some links to some blank documents, I guess, or something.
Okay.
In
a description?
Yeah, sure. We can do I've got blank estoppels and stuff people have given me that I've used, or stuff that we've drafted. Consent to judgments with the deed in lieu, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, we could do that. And what we could probably do to make it even that much better is we could take those documents and put them into a support article
on PaperStack.
On PaperStack. That way, it's always there, and it's not and the video will come and go. But if people need to access it at a different time, well, the video won't come and go. It's going to be on YouTube unless YouTube goes down. But it'll get buried by other videos. That's what I'm saying. But it will be underneath there somewhere on the support.
Okay. Yeah.
The knowledge base. Cool. And then I think that was pretty much everything.
The documents, identify the players, coordinate with boots on the ground, FedEx.
I like the FedEx one.
Speed, time kills all deals, and then know your plays, know your playbook. You kind of know when you get into the situation which way it's going to go. So if you know your playbook, it helps with the efficiency. So that way you're not having to think and start from scratch and be like, well, what am I going to do here? Mm-hmm. If you figure it out and you know it in advance and you kind of have your playbook set, you can run the plays and just be efficient.
These are for loss mitigation, but usually start just to people who understand. With the MWM fund, it's always starting with them wanting to keep their house.
Sure, MWM fund is always focused on if we can keep people in their house. That's the ultimate goal. This is just part two if they don't want to. Yeah, and when we got into the business, that's not what we did. When we got into the business, we tried to take houses back, and I'm not saying there's either way is right or wrong. They're both right. They work both, and you can set out to try to save people's houses all day, but guess what? There's going to be times when somebody's going to say, "Look, I don't want the house. You can take it." So.
Interesting. So we were right there at the 30-minute mark. Wow, that is well done, Rick.
On the button.
And that was pretty good, man. That was right on the timer. So that's it. If you have your own questions or got a podcast topic, we'd be sure to cover it in either.
Who else we got coming up? Interviews. Do we have anybody on the books yet?
We have someone that is from a servicing company.
Yes. Forgot about that. Servicers, give us all your questions for the servicers. If you have questions you'd love to ask at servicers, we'll have their ear, and I'll pose them as my own intelligent questions. Take full credit for it, and find out, get some answers for the stuff we want to know.
Yeah, that's the next one. But if you have other types of vendors or people that we need to interview to get answers, some questions, we're more than happy. And that's it.
Awesome.
See you on the next one.